Thank you, Father Kelly, Your Excellency, Father Becker, Reverend Fathers, any honored guests, and of course my brothers. Compassionate, intelligent, humble, authentic. But enough about me, more about my priest hero. Short, bald, not James Carroll. No. My priest hero is Father John Rutten of the Diocese of Sioux Falls. And I'd like to introduce you to him by way of sharing my first introduction to him. It was a crisp late October evening in the early 2000s, and me and every other Catholic homeschool kid in a 30-mile radius was in the basement of the Cathedral of St. Joseph in Sioux Falls. And we were all decked out in our best dress-up clothes because it was our annual All Saints' Day party. Yes, I know. I myself had donned a alb, stole, and chasuble, and with my brother had made paper miters and had taken the names Cyril and Methodius. I think we actually won the prize of best costume too, so that was good. But this particular year, they had a new exhibit, and the exhibit was a pumpkin, and it had popsicle sticks sticking out of it with faces of seminarians of our diocese. And I don't come up with these things. So I was like, that's interesting. So I went over there, and the idea was that little kids like me could go up and pick a seminarian and ask them to be my seminarian pen pal, right? And so I was like, this is a great idea. And so I did some extensive shopping and found this one, his name was John Rutten. And I knew it was the right choice immediately because my sisters were right on my shoulders, and they were like, yeah, everyone knows the Rutten family. It's going to be cool. And I was like, 8-year-old self was like, I am in the business of being cool. So I'll take this one. And we did the paperwork, and I immediately went home and started pounding out my first letter to this seminarian. But what I proceeded to tell him, not ask him, that I had chosen you as my seminarian pen pal. So I didn't give him the option. I think I even said congratulations in my letter. And so anyway, that started this relationship, and even today, we still correspond through letters and emails. But that's how I first came into contact with my priest hero when I was like 8. So after all these years, I could say endless things about Father John, but I'm going to limit myself to 3 titles that I think kind of encapsulate his heroism. The first title, Father John is a good human. I know what you're thinking. I also know that you know what I'm talking about, because when you meet someone and you're just like, man, they are really good at doing this whole human thing, like Ed Burke, right? Like master of formation and just a good human. He knows how to do it. So Father John, I think he's a good human, first of all, because he's a man of virtue. And he knows that however willing his spirit is, his flesh is still weak. And he's super honest with what he needs and also what he wants. And by golly, I think he knows the difference too. Because every time, my family teases him all the time about coming over for, if you ever offer Father John a Dairy Queen ice cream cake, it's not a matter of if he's coming over, it's a matter of, oh, he's here. Like, he will show up. But he stops by our house all the time, and that's because he was always visiting his mom in the nursing home too, which I just admired so much. I think that's super important as a priest to visit your mother, like he did. And also the other reason is that if you ever went to his house, his rectory, you'd see immediately as you walk into the door, all over his walls are pictures and sentences and stories of the people that have touched his life and how they've affected him and how they've made him a better man. And if you asked him anything about like even a specific word, he'd have a story to tell you. And so he's mindful of the fact that as humans, we are forgetful. We're very forgetful of the things that God has done for us, and he does something about that by posting reminders all over his living space, which is amazing. So, for those reasons, I bestow on Father John the title of being a good human. But secondly, he's a humble son. How do I know this? Well, in his first homily, he spoke 3 words to the congregation that I'll never forget. He said, "I'm an alcoholic," which is true. He had his conversion through a treatment center, actually. But he confessed to the flock that he had just been assigned to, that he came to heal, came to this broken and lost flock, proclaiming the fact that he had been broken and lost himself, which was just amazing. And to this day, he only puts the tiniest bit of wine into the chasuble. And chalice. Yes. And then he has to get people to consume the extras. And I don't think you can do that without having a profound humility and a knowledge of your identity as a son that is utterly unaffected by the fact that at one point in your life you drank too much. And I think that's beautiful. And thirdly, he humbles himself before every single Mass, and he prays this beautiful prayer. He says, "Priest of God, say this Mass as if it was your first Mass. Priest of God, say this Mass as if it was your last Mass. Priest of God, say this Mass as if it were your only Mass." And I just think that's such a beautiful act of humility. His third title and final title, and I think this is the role that's played the biggest, it's the thing that has made the biggest impact on me, is the fact that he's a true father. Ever since he was called away from my parish, he has never ceased to tell me how much he sees me as his son and how he's always there for me as my father. When he moved away from our parish, there was undoubtedly a ton of grief that had to take place. However, in the midst of it all, I think there was a truth being proclaimed, and that truth was precisely the fact that Father John was none other than a true father to every single person that was in that parish. And that's just beautiful, because you don't grieve the loss of something that you don't love and hold dear. And Father John, though I am confident that I do not tell you this enough, I want you to know that I truly do look up to you as my father. And in your humility upon hearing this affirmation, I can't see you saying anything else but praise be Jesus Christ.
Now and forever.